of the Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan, the Kane Chronicles. Yes. Alright. Try to keep up, okay? Someone saved the kids. They're running through a museum. Monsters are chasing them. Nice. Where was I? Zia, which is the girl who saved Carter and Sadie from a scorpion goddess, Circta, something like that. Circta? Let's see. Yeah, Circuit. She's back. She followed them into this museum. They're in front of an obelisk. They did a spell to open up a gate. The gate can only open in like midnight or eclipses, shit like that. And it's going to open in about 10 minutes. But Circuit just showed up. So will they survive? I don't know. Let's find out. Zia pointed her, which is, she saved us. Zia pointed her staff towards the goddess, engulfing her body in fire. Circus screamed and staggered backwards, but the fire died almost instantly. It left Circus' robe seared and smoking, but the goddess looked more enraged than hurt. Your days are past, magician. The house is weak. Lord Set will lay waste to this land. She talks like Chronicles. Zia threw her wand like a boomerang. It smashed into the shadowy scorpion tail and exploded in a blinding flash of light. Circuit lurched back and averted her eyes, and as she did, Zia reached into her sleeve and brought out something small, something closed inside her fist. The wand was a diversion, I thought, a magician's sleight of hand. Then Zia did something reckless. She leaped out of the magic circle. There's like a circle protecting them that whenever the Scorpion goddess Circuit unleashes her scorpions come over to try and attack Sadie and Carter, but as they touch the circle, they burn. And apparently it's the worst smell ever on Earth. So, burning scorpion, apparently. So, that's what's happening. And then the wind, it looks like it was just a diversion. Then Zia did something reckless. She jumped out of the magic circle, the very thing she'd warned us not to do. Zia, Carter called. The gate! I glanced behind me, and my heart almost stopped. The space between the two columns at the temple's entrance was now a vertical tunnel of sand, as if I were looking into the tunnel of an enormous sideway hourglass. I could feel it tugging at me, pulling me towards it with magical gravity. I'm not going in there, I insisted, but another flash of light brought my attention back to Zia. She and the goddess were involved in a dangerous dance. Remember, we're reading in Sadie's perspective. Zia twirled and spun with her fiery staff, and everywhere she passed, she left a trail of flames burning in the air. I had to admit it. Zia was almost as graceful and impressive as Bast. I had the oldest desire to help. I wanted, very badly, in fact, to step outside the circle and engage in combat. It was a completely mad urge, of course. What could I possibly have done? But still, I felt I shouldn't or couldn't jump through the gate without helping Zia. Sadie! Carter grabbed me and pulled me back. Without my even realizing it, my foot had almost stepped across the line of chalk. What are you thinking? I didn't have an answer, but I stared at Zia and mumbled in a sort of trance. She's going to use ribbons. They won't work. What? Carter demanded. Come on, we've got to go through the gate. So, it seems like Sadie can tell the future, right? Alright. Just then, Zia opened her fist and a small red tendrils of cloth fluttered into the air. Ribbons. How had I known? They zipped about like living things, like eels in water, and began to grow larger. Circuit was still concentrating on the fire, trying to keep Zia from caging her. At first, she didn't seem to notice the ribbons, which grew until they were several meters long. I counted 5, 6, 7 of them in all. They zipped around, orbiting Circuit, ripping through her shadow scorpion as if it were a harmless illusion. Finally, they wrapped around Circuit's body, pinning her arms and legs. She screamed as if the ribbons burned her. She dropped to her knees, and the shadow scorpion disintegrated into an inky haze. Zia spun to a stop. She pointed her staff at the goddess's face. The ribbons began to glow, and the goddess hissed in pain, cursing in a language I didn't know. I blind you with the 7 ribbons of Hathor, Zia said. I release your host on your essence, or your essence will burn. Wait, release your host or your essence will burn forever. Your death will last forever, Circuit snarled. You have made an enemy of Set. Zia twisted her staff and Circuit fell sideways, writhing and smoking. I will not, the goddess hissed, but then her black eyes turned milky white and she lay still. The gates, Carter warned. Zia, come on, I think it's closing. He was right. The tunnel of sand seemed to be moving a bit more slowly. The tug of its magic did not feel as strong. Zia approached the fallen goddess. She touched Circuit's forehead and black smoke billowed from the goddess's mouth. Circuit transformed and shrank until we were looking at a completely different woman wrapped in red ribbons. She had pale skin and black hair, but otherwise she didn't look anything like Circuit. She looked, well, human. Who? Who is that, I asked. The host, Zia said. Some poor mortal who... She looked up with a start. The black haze was no longer dissipating. It was getting thicker and darker again, swirling into a more solid form. Impossible, Zia said. The ribbons are too powerful. Circuit can't reform unless... Well, she is reforming, Carter yelled, and our exit is closing. Let's go. I couldn't believe he was willing to jump into a churning wall of sand, but as I watched the black cloud take the shape of a 2-story tall scorpion, a very angry scorpion, I made my decision. Coming, I yelled. Zia, Carter yelled. Now! Perhaps you're right, the magician decided. She turned and together we ran and plunged straight into the swirling vortex. You know, I understand. I guess the ribbons didn't work, but I was kind of hoping to feel like, you know, that was Carter's chapter, but it was in Sadie's perspective. I don't get it. It's because Carter probably likes Zia. That's probably what Rick Riordan's trying to write, right? Because why else would some banter be happening? Like, oh, why don't you guys get a room? So obviously the author is hinting at Zia and what's his name? Carter to get together in the future. And so naturally I'm thinking in my head, well, I wonder what Carter's thinking. Does he think she's pretty? Does he like her eyes or whatever? Is he into her, right? But no, we don't get any of that. We don't know what the fuck he's thinking because the story is told in Sadie's perspective. At least, you know, the chapter. And I have a feeling I'm right. So he doesn't, you know, it's like holding you, you know? What is it, like leaving breadcrumbs? However, we are in chapter 13. In Carter's perspective, I feel the killer. What? Oh, I face. That looks like fear, right? I face the killer turkey. Stupid. My turn. First, like I said, Carter's perspective. First of all, Sadie's puppy dog comment was totally out of line. I was not starry-eyed about Zia. See, you could have saved all this for the previous chapter. It maybe saved some pages. It's just that I don't meet a lot of people who can throw fireballs and battle gods. Stop making faces at me, Sadie. You look like Khufu. Anyway, we plunged into the sand tunnel. Everything went dark. My stomach tingled with that top of the roller coaster weightlessness as I hurtled forward. Hot winds whipped around me and my skin burned. Then I tumbled out onto a cold tile floor and Sadie and Zia crashed on top of me. Ow, I grumbled. The first thing I noticed was the fine layer of sand covering my body like powdered sugar. Then my eyes adjusted to the harsh light. We were in a big building like a shopping mall with crowds bustling around us. No, not a mall. It was a 2-level airport concourse with shops, lots of windows, and polished steel columns. Outside, it was dark, so I knew we must be in a different time zone. Announcements echoed over the intercom in a language that sounded like Arabic. Sadie spit sand out of her mouth. Yuck. Come on, Zia said. We can't stay here. I struggled to my feet. People were streaming past, some in Western clothes, some in robes and headscarves. A family arguing in German rushed by and almost ran over me with their suitcases. So we're in a tourist. This sounds like a tourist location, somewhere in an Arab location, right? Okay, let's continue. Then I turned and saw something I recognized. In the middle of the concourse stood a life-size replica of an ancient Egyptian boat made from glowing display cases, a sales counter for perfume and jewelry. "This is the Cairo airport," I said. "Yes," Zia said. "Now let's go." "Why the rush? Can she follow us through that sand gate?" Zia shook her head. "An artifact overheats whenever it creates a gate. It requires a 12-hour cooldown before it can be used again. But we still have to worry about airport security. Unless you'd like to meet the Egyptian police, you'll come with me now." She grabbed our arms and steered us through the crowd. We must have looked like beggars in our old-fashioned clothes, covered head to toe in sand. People gave us a wide berth, but nobody tried to stop us. "Why are we here?" Sadie demanded. "To see the ruins of Heliopolis," Zia said. "Inside an airport?" Sadie asked. I remember something Dad had told me many years ago, and my scalp tingled. "Sadie, the ruins are under us." I looked at Zia. "That's right, isn't it?" She nodded. The ancient city was pillaged centuries ago. Some of its monuments were carted away like Cleopatra's 2 needles. Most of its temples were broken down to make new buildings. What was left disappeared under Cairo's suburbs. The largest section is under this airport. "And how does that help us?" Sadie asked. Zia kicked open a maintenance door. On the other side was a broom closet. Zia muttered a command, "Sahat," and the image of the closet shimmered and disappeared, revealing a set of stone steps leading down. "Because not all Heliopolis is in ruins," Zia said. "Follow closely and touch nothing." The stairs must have led down about 7 million miles because we descended forever. The passage had been made for miniature people too. We had to crouch and crawl most of the way, and even so, I bonked my head on the ceiling a dozen times. The only light was from a ball of fire in Zia's palm, which made shadows dance across the walls. I've been in places like this before. Tunnels inside pyramids, tombs my dad had excavated, but I've never liked them. Millions of tons of rock above me seemed to crush the air out of my lungs. Finally, we reached the bottom. The tunnel opened up. Hold on. The tunnel opened up and Zia stopped abruptly. After my eyes adjusted, I saw why. We were standing at the edge of a chasm. Fuck, I almost fell. All right. We're on page 149. I gotta go back to work. Very unfortunate. It was fun reading with everyone. I hope y'all have a great night. It's 3 a.m. It sucks. I gotta smoke some weed before I go back. So take care. Next time we come back, I probably will be 100 pages ahead. Sorry about that, but we'll do